presentation of Suzuki RF900 took its place at International Motor Show in 1993 and sale began in 1994. The idea of modern versatile sports tourer was a recipe for filling the gap between the radical and very sport-oriented GSX-R series and slightly long in the tooth and air-cooled GSX-F models. Admittedly, the stock RF900 is still geared more towards sport than touring, however features exposing user-friendliness can be seen right away. The 900 is the biggest brother in the family. Smaller 600 and 400cc variants were also available for sale. One of the most controversial aspects of this machine is its looks. Angular and futuristic design was somewhat of a shock in mid-90s, nevertheless some buyers fell in love with it and the bike gained huge and unremitting following. There is a theory that Suzuki's designers chose this particular shape purposely to make their new product resemble iconic Ferrari's car. In fact, looking at beautiful side louvers in Testarossa, you can definitely tell that some of that design story can actually be true. 937cc 4-cylinder motor nestles in a rigid steel frame. This liquid-cooled 16-valve unit is a revamped version of an engine from a brutal GSX-R 1100W, which was a flagship for Suzuki's performance division at that time. Having such a strong, hard Big RF is no slouch, hitting 60 miles an hour in 3.5 seconds and pulling hard until it reaches its top speed of 165 miles per hour. This motor is all about mid-range. Keep it spinning between 5 and 8,000 RPM and you'll feel commanding the road. Wind it above 8,000 RPM and the GSX-R spirit will evince itself. As previously stated, this machine is manifesting sports lineage but also everyday usability. 21 liters tank will suffice for about 180 miles if you ride steadily, and seat is wide and passes the test of comfort. Wind deflection is okay, and robust classic passenger grab rail does the job pretty well when strong Nissan calipers bite into 310mm floating discs. Gauge cluster has the necessary, but you won't find the clock or fuel gauge. Flashing yellow reserve light will let you know when to refuel. Finally, there is some little extra storage room beneath the seat and very ingenious cubbyhole at the front. Cheap. That's how we could describe ownership of this motorcycle. It's fairly cheap to buy, easy to work on, there's millions of parts available out there, and what makes things even easier is the fact that many components are interchangeable with other GSX, GSX-R and Bandit models. RF900 had a very tough competition to combat. Well-known belters such as Honda Fireblade, Kawasaki ZX-9 Ninja, Yamaha Thunder Race and FZ1000 had their fans, and stealing sales figures in aggressive unfettered market was a task which Suzuki didn't cope with too well. Contemporary trends were pushing the class towards light and nimble supersports constructions, and finally, after a few years of production, Suzuki decided to discontinue its RF series. In my humble opinion, this bike needs 6th gear. Oh, didn't I mention its 5-speed transmission? Yes, for some bizarre reason, Suzuki equipped smaller RF siblings with 6 gears, but only 5 was given to RF900. Common glitch for many Suzuki sports motorcycles from that era was 2nd gear slippage. In some bikes, 2nd gear likes to pop out under very heavy acceleration. Many attribute that to brutal and reckless riding, as there's many RFs out there with over 60,000 miles on the clock and without any transmission failures. Later models may suffer from failures of rubber alternator coupling. Good news is that you could swap your faulty unit for tough shaft-driven one from the early models. Apart from the aforementioned, RF900 is a robust machine that will soldier on almost forever when looked after. As an evidence, I will use my own bike, which never failed me in my 5 years ownership. Oh dear, where do we start with those? This bike is simply fantastic. Great looks, decent comfort, good brakes, cheap to run and insure, lovely sound, and more than adequate power make it such a great buy. Here I present you with a dyno chart of my own 23-year-old motorcycle, which still pulled 117 brake horsepower at the wheel. That translates to about 130 horsepower at the crank. After so many years of service, I find this result more than satisfactory. Buying guide is same as always. Simply go for clean and looked after examples which are unmolested. You might consider limited production RS2 version or ultra rare Manta Ray. Only less than 100 of Mantas were ever made. Before I end this review, I will only add that Suzuki RF900 actually holds a world record which was set in 90s. But the rest about that you will probably Google yourself. Thanks for watching, till next time.